My God, I want this car. Guys, welcome back to RBR. I'm Raz, your super-powered host, and this is Audi's muscular new RS5 Avant, the successor to the RS4, and simply put, this has got to be their best designed car, maybe ever. Audi have always written the rule book on how to do wide-bodied cars right, and the RS5 doubles down on this with 9cm flared arches, not just on your front, but also on the rear end. We've got a gigantic new aggressive Audi Sport grille, huge intakes, carbon fiber everywhere, darkened matrix headlights, and a massively aggressive rear end with those typical Audi DNA oval pipes, but sat closer together to make the rear look even wider. It is just estate wagon Avant porn. But this isn't just an old formula repackaged in a sexy new body. This is Audi's first venture into performance hybrids, where this car pairs that lovely V6 that we love with an electric motor and a battery and a world's first on the rear axle, which is going to make their Quattro better than any of the rivals. And of course, in terms of being a daily car, it's going to have a ton of electric range, which is brilliant for a performance daily. And actually, I've got one more to show you. And this gorgeous looking sedan as well. So we got two versions, two completely different looks of this car to show you. Of course, I'll show you every detail of both, including the new interior where we finally see what the modern Audi Sport interior is going to look like. We'll also do a sound check of that new RS Sports exhaust system with this updated V6. I want to talk to you about the weight. I want to talk to you about the future RS6 and also why I feel this might be my first ever Audi Sport purchase. I'm that impressed with it. So let's get started. So you guys love RBR in part thanks to the VFX, like the Full Metal Alchemist inspired fire effects at the start of this video. And it's that stuff that formed and shaped my creativity. It's years of loving anime, pop culture, movies, video games, and I really wanted to display that passion on the walls of my house as well. But the problem is, I hate paper posters. They're so fragile, and I don't like the look of canvas. That's when today's sponsor, Display, showed up. These are premium metal posters, lightweight steel, curved edges, frameless and clean. And the print quality is on the level where you get that wow first look effect. And I picked three. The first one I wanted in my formal living area where I also work. And the theme of this room is quite nice and monochromatic, and I wanted one of my own memories because you can do custom displays. So I picked one of my favorite car memories. Me picking up my AMG GT Black Series from a Falterbach. It's perfect. It's in a matte finish. You go for gloss as well. And that's just going to suit this room so well. And then for downstairs in the gym, two of my favorite current animes, which are Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, and Solo Leveling, for that hype-up feeling when you're training in the gym. These are in their special texture finish, and you can generally see and feel the texture with the 3D enhancement. It's got gloss and matte elements, and it doesn't look flat, it looks alive when the light hits it. And the clever bit is how they mount with a magnet system. No drilling or tools, so no wall damage. Perfect if you're renting. Place on the magnet and it hangs in seconds, and you can swap them around just as quick. And because they come in consistent sizes of M, L and XL, you can hang multiple together and it looks intentional. I absolutely love these. There's over 200 official licenses, over 40,000 independent artists, and I saw like a load of cultural and religious ones that I'd really like to have in the house as well. So the choice is unbelievable. Or like I said, if you want your own memories, create your own story, you can do that with the custom displays as well. Now, of course, as an RBR viewer, I've got you a great discount. Use my code that you see here, and you'll be able to get the best discount possible on your own displays. Every purchase helps this little channel of two guys trying to do things a bit differently in the car industry, and hopefully it can level up your aesthetic in your rooms as well. Let me know what you thought of my choices. A huge thanks to Display for finally giving RBR a shot, and a huge thanks to you guys for always supporting our sponsors. Let's get back to that incredible looking car. So plug-in hybrids are a whole new territory for Audi Sport, and that's immediately a red flag for a lot of people, and rightly so, because it means more complications and it means more weight. But in my experience of owning good plug-ins, if it's done right, it could also be the perfect formula for a daily performance car like this to really give you that Jekyll and Hyde personality that we crave in a daily car. Though while it could be great, let's be honest about the fact that this is a very different format to our previous RS4s. Heck, even the name is different, now being called the RS5. But also the truth is that the lineage of the RS4 has been anything but a straight line, right? And to really display that, come and enter my technical domain. So we need to go a little bit back in the past, or a lot back in the past, to the Audi 80 RS2. Very famous car, legendary car now, built at Zuffenhausen with Porsche's assistance. You'll even find Porsche parts inside there. And that actually used a 5-cylinder engine. It was the only one of this lineage to ever do that. And it had the same formula, wide body, and you know, that aggressive Audi Sport look. But really the first ever car from what was then Quattro GmbH that turned into Audi Sport was the B5 RS4, the first of its name. And that used the 6-cylinder. And the same formula, having a wider body than the S4 at the time. It topped off with the Sport version that even by today's standards, absolutely glorious. So that was a 6-cylinder. Then we had a tangent, again, with 2 V8s, a completely different experience and a completely different type of engine and chassis. And then we returned to this 6-cylinder in our last car in the B9. And that's not really a car that really thrilled us initially, particularly following on from the V8s. But then when the Comp came, I think it really hit its groove. That lighter car was exciting. It made our hearts flutter. It was easily, I feel, as quick as the M3, but sounded so much better with the RS Sports exhaust and that lovely V6. I mean, I think it was the best sounding car in the segment at that time. And then following on for that, we have our new new A5. Very confusing. What happened was Audi were originally going to have all of their combustion cars as odd numbers and all the EV cars as even numbers. But then the new CEO, Gernot Dollner, came in, smacked everyone around the face with a bit of logic and said, no, we're not doing that. So that's why the A6 was never called the A7, but he wasn't there quick enough to save the A4 name. However, to be fair, A5 is a return to form for Audi in terms of the design that customers wanted, a return to the right engines, and truly you do get a lot more bang for buck than you would have done in an A4, so A5 kind of makes sense. But a really gorgeous car, just in the standard S5 model as well. And because of that, we had such high hopes of how great the RS version of this could look, and boy does it not disappoint. This thing blows you away the first time you look at it. It is truly one of the few new cars that you'll see on the road today that doesn't feel afraid of showing how sporty it is. Comparing it just to the standard car, it actually looks like a whole different series to me. There are some corners of this where it's so exaggerated, it's like an AI has created this picture, particularly around the headlights and around the arches where it's 9 centimeters bigger on the front and the rear. It's so, they haven't tried to hide it. They've embraced it. And because of that, the car looks pretty much like nothing else on the road, let alone in the segment. You even compare it to the previous, now outgoing RS4. It looks way more on the side of RS6. It is stunning. And the sedan as well looks just as compelling as our Avant. So absolutely incredible. There's so many details. There's so many angles I want to show you. So let's have a look around it together. So guys, let's have a look around this car now. It's just mind-blowingly gorgeous, particularly in the Avant. They've just really accepted the fact that it's going to be a wide body. I think a lot of the design, from what the designers were saying, came out of what was underneath the skin. So because they wanted it to have a wider track, because they wanted the rear wheels to be wider than the front, all for dynamic reasons, your final result of the width of this car just ended up being kind of like a symptom of what was underneath the skin. And God, what a result in the end. It's just so aggressive. So we've got 9 centimeters wider on each side. You can clearly see that, particularly when you go close. And you see, these are the standard A5 lights, right? But look just how much further. We've got this massive extension on the side here, and it really is that exaggerated when you come to look at it close. It's incredible. For a petrol head who loves performance cars, that is pure car porn. I don't think I've seen a wider car in the segment. I mean, it looks, visually, kind of looks wider than the RS6. That's how intimidating it is in person. That's obviously helped by the fact that we've got now a massive grille, which is much bigger than the more classy one that you'll find on the standard A5 and the S5. And that's only helped by the massive air intakes on the side. Of course, all of this done because you've got large radiators, different cooling strategies in there, so it needs to be done.
But sometimes necessary things are super sexy things. Well, that just looks incredible. This is part of the Audi Sport package, so you get this different canard here, which is in carbon, and I'll show you what the standard one looks like after we do this, which also looks nice actually as well. But yeah, front end, absolute winner. You come around the front 3/4 and things just get better and better and better. Again, particularly in the Avant, which is what Audi is all about. So that side view, it's very modern Audi Avant, but again, very, very reminiscent to the best of their cars. Really reminds me of the RS6 GT in a lot of ways, which is a great thing. You look at the wheel design, is very reminiscent of that, and 6-spoke Audi wheel designs of the past. You've got that lovely aero feature that we see behind our front wing here that was first brought in by cars like the RS3, later adopted by RS6 GT, etc. Looking great on here. Absolutely massive side sills on this thing, huge. Again, very reminiscent of RS6. And then, yeah, that side view, just to die for. Of course, this is an Avant, but look how tapered the roofline is on this thing. I mean, it kind of feels almost more shooting brake-ish. Looks super, super sporty. And that's only helped by the fact that they made the rear that much wider. Like we said, also 9 centimeters wider on the rear end. And they've also done a unique door, which not a lot of manufacturers do, just to increase that feeling of the width on the rear. They could have kept the normal door, but they actually went to the trouble of doing that. And I really love that fact that they paid that attention to detail just to make the car look that much more aggressive. Now, of course, in here, we do have our charging port, which is great. Very happy about that. Very happy about the electric range. It's got an actual proper usable battery with proper usable range. And then, of course, the rear 3/4 where things only get better. Look at that. Look at that. That is, it should be illegal, really. No car in this segment should look that good. That is punching way above its weight. Just so good. Let's unpack it. So you've got the wider arches. We know that. You've got the race flags within the lights. That's fine, gimmicky, whatever. It's not important. The important thing is look at that diffuser. Look how massive it is. Look at the exhaust positioning, which they've taken back to the retro, closer together like we had on some of the older TTs, etc. It just helps widen that rear end even more because it kind of draws attention to the fact that the hips are sticking out further. Around the diffuser, you've got the carbon fiber. There's gloss black around our lovely, massive matte black exhaust pipes in there that you can see. And then we have, like we found in the e-tron GT Performance, for example, we've got the reflector in the middle of the diffuser. All of these little visual cues help widen the car. So overall, whether it's front, whether it's side, whether it's rear, it just absolutely blows you away, this car. At the top of our roof, we've got this lovely split on the top, which again, looks great, helps with the sporty appeal of it. And of course, because this is an Avant, and because it's a plug-in hybrid, we need to look inside here. That's plenty of space, particularly in the Avant. We know our battery sits right there. Despite that, you got a lot of space. Yes, not as much as you would have if it wasn't a plug-in hybrid, but I think that's going to satiate most lives. It's going to satiate most people. Certainly, I think I'll be very happy with that. So yeah, good space in our rear as well. Now, heading inside, this is our first look now at what a modern Audi Sport interior would look like. I've been wondering for a while how they would do it with this whole new system. I'm particularly quite excited to see what that software is going to be like, so we'll jump in a second. You can see they've retrimmed that new steering wheel. We've got the Audi Sport specific satellite buttons. We've got the red marker on top of it. The seat's very reminiscent of recent Audi Sport cars we've seen, like e-tron GT Performance, RS6 GT, etc. You've got that kind of honeycomb pattern grille. You've got the perforations showcasing the red colour within there as well. Lots of use of Dynamica microfiber in there as well. So very, very Audi Sport looking. Right guys, back to the sedan. Now,
This has also got the Audi Sport package, but with some specific options that this car shows you essentially how you can go really quite different with the RS5. So fundamentally, you've got that same type of look in the sedan, which is great. You've got the wide front, you've got the wide rear, the formula is the same. But look at the design differences, and we come around the front. Look at our air intakes here. These are the sports design air intakes. You can see they're wider. I'll show you what the normal one looks like later, but this is in that forged carbon, just like we saw in the e-tron GT Performance. And Audi really the only one's brave enough to be able to get away with that because it actually suits their cars. This is finished in a Bedford green, which again, we first saw in that car, and it really suits, I think, the look of this particular car. The other difference is specific wheel finish. Here you see you've got again, it looks almost like a matte bronze, very slight. It's like a warm, I feel a warm tinge on your diamond finish outside, and then the matte lacquer on top. You've got the matte black on the inside, and then specific to the Audi Sport package are the bronze calipers here in the ceramic brakes. And that overall look, I think, very like serpentine, very kind of lizardy, dinosaur-y, I guess. I like it, it really works. It makes the entire package look quite mean. Again on the side with this package, forged carbon on our wing mirrors, forged carbon on our side sills. Again, looking really, really nice. I love that RS. I just can't stop talking about it. It's so nice. And then again, of course, we have the wheels. Then on the rear. Now the sedan always gets this really nice spoiler here, which you can see, which has then the gaps in between here, you can see. Obviously optimized for aerodynamics, but that gives it a unique look versus then the Avant. So that's very, very nice. Again, this one is finished in the forged carbon. You look at our amazing diffuser looking just as good in our sedan as it did in the Avant. So again, you've got the forged carbon around it, the lovely exhausts which are nice and close together, and then your motorsport reflector in the middle. Overall, I mean, I love the look of the three-quarter rear of the sedan as well, and it's nice that when you look at it directly from the rear, you've got that nice bulk as well. Which one do you prefer? Personally, I love the Avant. That's the one I'm eyeing up, but this one, as always with the Audi Sport cars, also just so tempting. Just a note on the boot space then. Remember, we've got that large battery in here, 25 kilowatt gross, but still a lot of space. And I think it's helped by the fact, because though this is a sedan-shaped car, we still have the hatchback rear. So you've got a lot more flexibility in terms of luggage loading, etc. within here. I think that will suit a lot of lifestyles. It's not as practical, obviously, as the Avant, but for a plug-in hybrid, a performance one, pretty damn good. So design, particularly with that Audi Sport package, they really knocked it out the park. If you don't get the Audi Sport package, you get the standard car, it still looks really, really nice. You have this horizontal blade that goes through our front intake here. You have the option of having a carbon vertical blade within the intakes. Yes, it's not perhaps as aggressive, but it's got its own look, and I think it looks really good if you're going to go for the standard version as well. Now, let's get technical about this car, shall we? So, this is a plug-in hybrid. That means your usual strong marriage of a combustion engine, an e-motor, and a battery. But the RS5 takes this idea even further with an additional permanent motor that sits on the rear axle that allows for a world's first electro-mechanical torque vectoring system that we're going to go into as well. First, let us begin with our V6 engine, which has seen a number of improvements. And now it's 60 horsepower, more powerful than the outgoing base car, and it produces by itself 510 horsepower and 600 Newton meters. There's been a lot of revisions to this, like to the millicycle. They've designed a new intake system. We've got a water-to-air cooling system for that in order to make it better at high performance intervals. And overall, as I said, we end up with 510 horsepower and 600 Newton meters just by itself. And what's great is despite that extra 60 horsepower, it's 20% better on fuel consumption as well. So you're kind of getting your cake and eating it. And it's also great that Audi maintained the V6 rather than changing to like a 4-cylinder like AMG did or something that just wasn't acceptable. A V6 is just right for the RS4 in my opinion. And this car, the new RS5, maintains it. So V6 engine, perfect for this series of car. Then we come to the hybrid system. This is a 400 volt electric architecture in this car. And your first bit is your e-motor, which sits inside an all-new 8-speed torque converter gearbox. That, by itself, produces 177 PS and 460 Newton meters, which I want to mention is more power than my E53 AMG produces in its hybrid system, and that's a level above this car, supposedly. So a very powerful e-motor. That's backed up then by a large battery. It's approximately 25.9 gross and about 22 kilowatt in real usable capacity, and this gives you the EV mode. So you can drive all electric up to 80 kilometers, around about 50 miles, which again is game changing for a daily performance car. You can charge it with a 3-phase charger up to 11 kilowatts. And the other great thing is the car, while you're driving, will also charge up to 80%, thanks to the fact you get 84 kilowatts recuperation off the wheels itself, which is really high in this segment as well. And in a daily use, allows you to build back your energy while you're driving if your batteries run out. Then that gearbox that houses our motor has also seen massive revisions, particularly in its mechanics, in order to essentially give us faster shifts than what we used to have. And if it's as fast as the comp, then that's going to be great, because I found that to be really snappy. So a total output then of 639 PS, 825 Newton meters, and an improved 0 to 60 of 3.6 seconds. It's really impressive numbers. Though, don't get too dazzled by the horsepower figure, because while it seems massively more than the predecessor, please also remember that the predecessor weighed between 17 to 1800 kg, whereas this weighs around about 2.3 something tons, so 500 kg more. Of course, because the standard A5 is about 200 kg heavier, because it's a much larger car in terms of interior space, in terms of its actual size. And then when you add a hybrid system, as always, it adds 300 kg, but don't write the car off yet. Modern suspension systems are like black magic when it comes to handling. Audi Sport know their stuff, so we're going to leave what we think of the drive until we actually drive the thing. We've seen other cars do it right, so why can't Audi Sport? They will. And that actually neatly brings us to the topic where I think they've put the most effort in, as they should, which is their Quattro system, which is what the four rings are best known for. Now, of course, there's been a big development on the rear axle, but before that, we start with our central differential, which is new. And this is a limited slip one that is preloaded. The preload means it's always partially locked, which again means that you get quicker access to torque, and most crucially, it helps reduce understeer, which some Audis in the past have been hindered by. Then we come to this world's first development on the rear, where we have a permanent magnet, a PSM motor on the rear, but not for power. This is instead there for torque management, electronic torque management, where this basically marries the benefits of an electronic diff and a mechanical diff without any trade-offs. So it is able to, within 15 milliseconds, shift 2,000 Newton meters between each wheel, depending on driving conditions, which is absolutely insane in terms of speed. And this is going to help with handling, not just when driving fast, but in all driving situations. And it also allows for the RS rear drift mode within this. So that's a separate mode now in this car, like we first saw in RS3. So Audi first lagging behind AMG and M in this department, now with the world's first, with this new electro-torque vectoring system to push Audi ahead of its rivals. The torque split range is still very much Audi Quattro, so it's either 70-30 or 15-85 bias to the rear, just like we've had in our past RS4 and in the RS6. And then actually the weight balance of this car is pretty damn good as well. It's 50.5 against 49.5, which is a good achievement again on a hybrid car. Then we come to the next really important topic, which is suspension and chassis rigidity, which is very important for a heavier car. And we start off with a 10% stiffer body in white than our standard A5. Then we've had our front axle, which is a 5-link, and a completely redesigned from ground up 5-link rear axle as well, where they've really focused on road contact, making sure that when you're delivering power in all scenarios, the wheels are touching the road, and particularly because of the weight of the car as well. So that's been a great update on here. We've got the RS Sport suspension in here as well, with twin valve dampers for rebound and compression. Again, it's going to give this car great breadth of ability in terms of both comfort and performance. not unlike we've seen in other heavy cars like the Panamera hybrid, like the BMW M5, a similar idea where we know heavier cars can be quite agile if you get the suspension right. And finally, to match with that, the steering has RS-specific tune, and I think it has the same ratio actually as the competition with a 13:1 ratio, and we found the steering in the competition to be absolutely fantastic. Then brakes. We have a choice of either steel brakes or the carbon ceramics, which help reduce the weight of the car by 30 kg. And as a first in the segment, you also get ceramics on our rear as well, which is great. Now, ownership, price, deliveries. Deliveries start summer of this year. In Europe, you're looking at around about 106 for the sedan, 107k euros for your Avant. In the UK, actually, I think a really solid starting price of 89k. This is approximate. We haven't got the final figures yet, leading up to your top version, around about 105-ish k for the Vorsprung, which I assume it will be called. So I think that's pretty good value for money, given when we look at the M3, for example, it starts around about the same, in fact, a little bit more than that. So it's a good starting point. In the USA, apparently, you're only going to get the sedan, unless you make some noise, because Audi are going to be reading the comments of this video and others. So make comments down below. If you want the Avant RS5, let Audi know, because they have made changes with, say, the RS6 already. Now, I really want one of these cars because I've had great experiences with plug-in hybrids. I've gone from GLC hybrid to E53, and I'm looking at this thinking, this is a great formula. And I'll explain more about that after we look at the interior. Before we look at the interior, let us talk about the car that will sit above this, because we've seen it do the round. It is the RS6, which is of course also going to be a plug-in hybrid and probably look quite similar to this. However, where I was hoping it would be a V8 hybrid, I think the RS6 is going to end up with a similar system to this, but with more output. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. If anything, it makes the ownership case for RS5, if that's true, even stronger. Unless Audi pull a rabbit out of the hat and it is a V8. It doesn't sound like it from the spy shots that I've listened, or the spy videos that I've listened to. But we shall see. Either way, I think it's going to look incredible. And even just with the RS5, the Avant future of RS seems to be in really, really good hands, as does the sedan. Now, Audi's V6 is one of my favorite 6-cylinders in the world. So this sound check moment is something I've been anticipating for this whole shoot. Let's turn this car on and see what it sounds like. God, this sounds really good. Definitely different, but lots of pops and bangs. Oh, this is a nice sounding car. That makes me very happy. That's the final. Apart from driving it, that is one of the most important pieces of this puzzle to make it a great performance daily. And something that my E53 sorely lacks. So, ooh, this is getting me excited, guys. Very nice. Tell me what you think in the comments. Maybe you can't hear it completely, but it sounds damn good in person. Now, apart from that, this interior of the A5 in general is a lovely interior with the ambient lighting, which is an active bar as well, that interacts with you as you're driving. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my A5 video, which is really quite detailed in this regard. Like I said, I'd like to see that old style steering wheel back, but apart from that, I've got all the right signals going on here. It feels like I'm sitting in a proper Audi Sport RS car. Like I said, they've retrimmed the steering wheel. I still prefer the old Audi Sport one, which had the round circle, and I think they're going to go back to that because they have started now to make quite a few changes. Oh, hello. That's new. Nice. And we've also got new software in here, which is what I was hoping to see, something more Audi Sport specific. And I think we can shift between still just a few views in here rather than having the multitude that we used to have
previously. Again, I think that's something they're working on. And I know they're working on stuff because, for example, on the steering wheel here, they've gone back to having a manual rocker for the volume here and for some of your controls on this side. And they said they're still working on elements like that. They're still working on elements like this based on customer feedback to have perhaps more buttons, more tactility, which is all good. It means that Audi, and particularly Audi Sport, are listening to feedback on these cars. Now, as we said, this system has, of course, been modified completely for the use of Audi Sport. So we even have something like the Audi driving experience within here. Now, this is similar to what you've seen perhaps in other brands in terms of recording what you do on racetracks. It's even got a drift analysis for your torque rear mode, along with full analysis of your driving. So it's great that Audi Sport keeping up with everybody else on that side of things. And then, of course, we have the Audi Sport. In terms of the driving select mode, we have RS Individual, we have RS Sport and RS Torque Rear, obviously for the drift mode element, which is great. So when we go into Individual, you can see there's a lot that you can customize here, more than you would have seen in any other Audi. So we've got your drive system, steering on 3 levels, suspension on 3 levels, sound as well, the Quattro system, ESC, cruise control as well, which is, I've never seen that before, that's good. And then you have a choice of how the virtual cockpit looks when you go in the different modes as well. So that gives you a slightly different look in your virtual cockpit, depending on what you choose here. Dynamic is actually probably the nicest one right there. Who is that? I wasn't listening to that. That's not me, that's Haram. What's going on? Now, another thing I want you guys to note is the EV side of things, which is super important for this car. And you can see in here, we've got 78% on the battery, and even now it's saying 82 kilometers, meaning that figure, the official figure, can be improved upon. Down here as well, next to drive select, you will see the EV button, which brings up the display here in terms of all the EV options, such as the energy. You can set departure times, which is really useful stuff for when you actually own these cars. And then, interestingly, it's got tips in terms of, which is really useful actually, because things like this can help you make your experience a bit more efficient and get the most out of the car, which I think is really, really important. I do really like the way that Audi Sport have trimmed this versus the standard Audi cars, which I think is all too black, a bit boring. And I think Audi have done it the right way. It feels like it's an Audi Sport software, and that's what I'm expecting out of a car that they do. When you go into the My RS section, it's going to show you the energy flow when you're driving, the temperature monitor. This type of stuff, especially for a hybrid, is very, very important information. And it's nice that they've brought that into this and made it very obvious for you. In terms of battery management within this car, what's quite interesting is that when you're in RS Sport or Torque Rear, the car will do its best to keep the battery as high as possible. So if you're close to 100, it will try to keep it at least at 90%. And if you're not quite there, you can still use those modes. You can still use them at full power, but it will try to build the battery back up to that level. And we know it can do that because of the high recuperation power. So you won't ever need to worry about that element. You can use the modes as you please. And when you're driving faster, it is going to maintain that battery, so you always have peak performance to hand. And I think that's really the key thing with this car. So there are a few differences in this version of the Audi Sport package interior. You'll see, for example, we have like this brass stitching. They call it brass. It feels very gold, and that flows throughout the seats, and you'll see that on our seats as well. And it gives quite a different vibe than to the red interior that we saw earlier. You can view that quite well here on our door card alongside the dynamic as well. So that's your brass stitching. And down there on our RS floor mats with now the classic logo, which is really nice. Indeed, on the interior as well, you look at the steering wheel, you've got that bronze look here on our spoke. And then you'll see things like the forged carbon fiber in our center console here, which looks really good. And you've got some of that forged carbon there on our door card as well. So I'm 5'10", and I've got, I'd say, a couple of inches still above my head. Obviously, you're gonna have more space in the Avant, but by no means is it feeling like you're sitting in a coupe. So overall, quite a different vibe in this Audi Sport package interior versus the red and black one that we just saw. So guys, that's your new RS5 in both Avant and Sedan, and it just has huge potential to be maybe the best car in the segment. It's a very different car to, say, the M3, which I think will continue to be a mild hybrid. I don't think that BMW M are going to go the plug-in route, which means that this is going to have a very unique place in the market for someone like you and me who wants that same performance, but also wants that daily usability of being able to have 50 miles to do on EV and save a bit of money while enjoying the performance when you want to really have that Jekyll and Hyde. So it could really be that type of car that keeps your bank balance happy, but has your heart fluttering all the time as well. And it's that reason that I think I'm going to buy one of these. Maybe identical to this one, because I'm just so smitten with this super sexy red Avant, particularly with that Audi Sport package that they've introduced now in these cars. To me, it just seems like it's going to be the perfect daily car for a car enthusiast. So I haven't driven it yet, and obviously the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating, particularly with a heavy plug-in hybrid. But knowing Audi Sport and how good they are with dynamics in the modern age, my hopes are high. So I can't really give it a bigger thumbs up than that. Absolutely love it, guys. If you've enjoyed this episode of RBR, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.